The conventional wisdom in the West is that Putin invaded Ukraine in February 2022 because he is an imperialist. He is said to be interested in creating a new Russian empire. Therefore, he is determined to conquer Ukraine first and then attack other countries in Eastern Europe. Supplying Ukraine with enough weapons, the logic goes, would allow the Zelensky government to win the war. However, if we take a closer look at the military balance of power, it is very unlikely that either of these claims will actually come true. In a war of attrition, such as the one we are currently witnessing in Ukraine, military victory depends primarily on the number of weapons, ammunition, and soldiers available. A comparison of the two countries' military personnel, human resources, land, air, and naval forces, and military spending makes one thing clear. Given Russia's immense superiority, a Ukrainian victory is highly unlikely. Even an increase in Western military support can do little to change this. Compared to Russia, Ukraine does not have enough soldiers due to the size of its population. Western arms supplies cannot compensate for Russian military superiority. They will only keep the war going, leading to more casualties on the battlefield. Russia, on the other hand, is also unlikely to attack a NATO member state in Eastern Europe. NATO countries spend about 13 times as much as Russia on their military. Given this reality, an attack on NATO territory would be a suicide mission for Russia. NATO countries could more easily attack and defeat Russia if it did not have the world's largest nuclear arsenal. In recent weeks, the West has further escalated the situation. In late May, the Biden administration gave Ukraine permission to use US weapons to strike targets in Russia near the Kharkiv region. Germany, the second largest supporter of Ukraine after the US, has followed suit. German Defense Minister Pistorius has said that war with Russia is possible in 5 to 8 years. French President Macron no longer rules out the use of Western ground forces in Ukraine. The US seems to want to avoid a direct confrontation with Russia. By supplying Ukraine with weapons, it hopes to achieve a long stalemate. A prolonged, grinding military conflict that gradually freezes along a battle line could take a heavy toll on Russia and weaken it in the long run. The proxy war in Ukraine has already achieved important US geopolitical goals. First, the integration of Ukraine into US-led global capitalism and the de facto expansion of NATO and the American empire to the Russian-Ukrainian border. Biden officials have said that the military funds earmarked for Ukraine would help rebuild the US military-industrial base. It would restart and expand production lines for weapons and ammunition and support jobs in 40 US states. The US military-industrial complex is literally making a killing on this war and will continue to do so for years to come. Ukraine's debt to Western creditors will pave the way for a post-war windfall. It will be used as leverage to privatize most of the country for the benefit of US and EU multinationals. Second, the proxy war in Ukraine has helped sever economic ties between Russia and Western Europe. Here in particular, the US goal is to create a permanent hostility between Germany and Russia. The US saw the Nord Stream pipelines, which would transport Russian natural gas to Germany and Western Europe, as an obstacle to expanding its liquefied natural gas exports and as a weapon in Russia's hands to divide NATO. As the US and its European allies increase their military support for Ukraine, the risk of nuclear war continues to grow. The worse Moscow fares militarily, the stronger the political forces in Russia may try to respond with a nuclear strike. In light of the growing risk of nuclear escalation, the doomsday clock still stands at 90 seconds to midnight, the closest it has been to midnight since it was created in 1947.